Hello, hello, hello. Do you guys remember a popular board game called Monopoly? Monopoly is a property trading board game, and in the game, players roll two six-sided dice and move around the game board, buying and trading properties. The game plan is for them to develop houses and hotels on those property that they bought, and the game plan is to drive the opponents into bankruptcy. Now, money can also be gained through the community chest and chance cards. And when players draw up these cards, there are two cards that is of interest here. One of the card is go straight to jail card. It actually says go straight to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200. And if you get the go straight to jail card, well, you end up going to jail. Now, one way to get out of jail is to get the get out of jail card free. So that's a price card to get. Now, for some of us, undergoing strict MCO, it's like we got dealt the go straight to jail card. So we have to stay in jail. We have to stay at home to slow down the chain of infection. But on a more serious note, the pandemic is crushing and there is a lot of negative fallout. And this will have its effect for years to come. No one is spared. Your age, your gender, whether you're rich or you're poor, you're just not spared. Now, for instance, many do not get to enjoy their first experiences, right? Such as children entering their standard one for the first year, or college students going to college for the first time, or university. But still, for those who actually was hoping that they would be starting their first year uni overseas, they don't get to enjoy all this. And what about people who planning to get married? They had to cancel their wedding plans, their honeymoon plans. People who had firstborn had to give up on full moon parties, no birthday parties, no nothing. So there are many, many no's in this current pandemic. Many of our friends even took pay cut, or even worse, some lost their jobs. Some have even lost their loved ones to the virus. So mad as we are about being locked down, well, we must still continue to function. So today, I would like to talk about how our daily lives have been affected by the coronavirus and how we can cope with it. You know, one thing I like to do is read. And I read a lot. I think my love for reading dates back to when I was 8 or 9 years old. To whatever book I can get my hands on, I would read. It's like really a love affair with books. And this continued all the way to maybe when I was in my 30s. But as you age, there are a lot of other demands. You got married, you have your work to juggle, you have your children, you have your travels. And you find, or at least I find less and less time to pursue these reading habits of mine or this hobby. But with today's technology, I find I can go back to reading, but instead of reading thick novels, which I find that is quite challenging time-wise, I find that there are many interesting articles on the internet. And just a few days ago, I want to share with you what I read. I read an article that's quite interesting. It's 5 words that were not part of our vocabulary before 2020 and suddenly dominated our conversations in 2020, and it may continue in 2021. So do you know what the 5 words are? I'm sure you can guess it. Huh? But thinking about it, I don't even remember if I have ever heard of this word before COVID arrived. On 11 March 2020, WHO classified COVID-19 to a what status? Do you remember? Pandemic. For sure, I have heard of the word epidemic. I am not sure whether I've heard of the word pandemic before COVID, whether spoken or written. Do you know the difference between what is epidemic and pandemic? Let me share with you. An epidemic is a disease that affects a large number of people within a community, a population, or a region. It's contained. A pandemic is an epidemic that spread over multiple countries or continents, like what we are experiencing right now. And there is another word as I was reading this called endemic. Do you know what endemic is? Endemic is something that belongs to a particular group of people or country. So, I said just now, 5 words that were not used very much pre-COVID, but you hear it every time now during the COVID situation. The first word is, of course, pandemic. Did you guys get that right? Sure you did, huh? Now, because of this pandemic, we all stay at home. Like I mentioned about Monopoly, we're all put in jail. We are under home prison, okay, home jail. Our government have given the O order. But which O order? MCO, CMCO, EMCO, RMCO. Now I'm really confused. What you can or cannot do in each of the O situation. And actually, if you use the first alphabet of the MCO and you jumble them up, like mumbo jumbo, you get a car. An acronym for a car. What car do you get? You mumbo jumbo up MCO, CMCO, EMCO, RMCO, you get a Mercedes. Not bad, huh? From all these O's, you can get a Mercedes. But seriously, don't care which O lah. Just follow SOP. The second most used word, more of an acronym, is MCO. That's what I read, MCO, okay? So what is the third most used word? Can you take a guess? This word is, let me describe this word to you. This word is normally used in the context of products. Like you receive a bad batch of products and you need to check if the products can be reworked to fix the damages or to be destroyed. So, while waiting for it, you have to place this batch of products in a specific area or in a designated area so that it does not get mixed up with the good stuff that you are selling. So you place them in this designated area called, in the warehouse, we'll normally call this area quarantine, right? Now with MCO, we the people, the humans, we also need to be quarantined for various reasons. And yes, that's the third most used word in our daily vocabulary, quarantine. Did you guess that correctly? I am sure you did because I know you guys are so smart. So moving on to the fourth word. What is the fourth word? Hello. Don't come so near, please. 1 meter away, please. And the word is, I'm sure you know, social distancing. I really have to give it up to the person who coined these two words together. To be social is to get near, be friendly, be sociable. You always tell some of your friends who are so grumpy, come on, be more sociable. No friends who don't want to go out. But they combine it with the word distance. Distance, normally you think far, right? Very far. It's about proximity. And distance, you always think of go the distance, right? So marrying of both these separate words, social, distancing, I think is great because it's be friendly, but keep your distance physically. Great word, very much in use. On a lighter note, I am now glad that lifts are never jammed packed because they are nicely marked boxes where you stand in a lift. When you enter a lift, there are nicely boxed areas where you're supposed to stand and no one can stare or look at you in the lift because technically in the lift, when you stand in those boxes, you are supposed to face the wall. All right? So, the upside of social distancing. Husbands are also now happy that they have a good reasons to tell their wives to stop buying new clothes so they really don't have places to go because everyone is, what are they doing now? They are working from home. The words, of course, have been shortened to WFH. So I am asked this question in a short text. Let me ask you, do you know what this person is asking me when they texted me? WFH. WFM. Can you guess? WFH, WFM. So they were asking, so does working from home work for me? So let me ask you this question. Does working from home work for you? Yes? No? Tell me, share, share, share. Because we are getting social at a distance, right? Now, so the top 5 words in 2020, like I said earlier on, was pandemic, MCO, quarantine, social distancing, work from home. Right. Earlier on, I said, let's talk about how we can cope with this jail time, this time of isolation. And what I've just described is really, what I've said about the 5 words, what I've just described is how to improve my mood. Because that's very important. You can start to feel very moody when you're stuck at home, right? So one important thing is how do we improve our mood? For sure, this pandemic has done nothing good for our moods, but there is no denying that staying at home is also very stressful, very boring, sometimes mentally exhausting, is draining, and for many, financially devastating. And because we are tired of living like this, we can't meet up with our family and friends, we can't go shopping, we can't travel, we can't dine out, and so many we can't. We sometimes feel like we are living in a petri dish. You know a petri dish? Like those science petri dish that's brewing a depressive symptoms. But we have to break out of it. Because one common problem that you may find creeping up on you is that you will have trouble concentrating. Right? So what I did, or what I do, is I read. But I cannot go back to reading novels. I don't have time. But I like to read a lot of short write-up. Light-hearted write-up. Like 5 words. Well, it's just great fun. It makes me smile when I read about the 5 words that was commonly used before 2020 and now in 2020, right? That's great. I look for write-up in LinkedIn. I follow people of interest or organizations of interest like the Female Lead, World Economic Forum. Great articles, and they even tell you this is a 6-minute read, this is a 4-minute read. So you know how much time you're reading, you take to read that short article. Concise, precise, lots of information done in 4 minutes or 6 minutes, right? And you can read a number of articles in 15 minutes, right? So that's great. Or I go to the Norwex movement blog. If you like, you can go to www.norwexmovement.com blog, and you will find a lot of informative and interesting articles all about greening the environment, written by Amy Kadora, our Chief Brand and Mission Officer. Great articles there. Or you can go, if you're a parent, you can also go to our recently launched Norwex Tiny Heroes blog, where you can read a lot about parenting articles, or you can get to play games with your kids, you know, the online games there, right? So the little things that we can do. Now, we don't know how long this pandemic will go on and how long more we have to stay at home. So it's best we find short spurt of activities to break the momentum, to break the boring momentum, right? Short spurt of activities, don't have to be long haul, just short spurt of activities that will put a smile on our face. Recently, over the last 2 Fridays, a few of us, we got together and went into virtual karaoke sessions. We sang our hearts out from our own home using the karaoke app of WeSing. So watch out for the next conference. You might just find me singing out loud to you guys. I can do my own rendition of I Am Alive instead of playing the song by Celine Dion. But really, the Friday session was fun. We had a few laughs, hearing our own croaky voices, and the app is so great. They can even give you scores of how you sang. You can get a score A, you can get an S, you can get a double S, triple S. It's really great fun, so check it out. Or maybe I'll invite you into my karaoke room. Most importantly, we must start to believe that we are going to get through this and things will get better. That's how we improve our mood, all right? Number 2, how do we cope? Number 2 is change our mindset to fit with the times. Another thing that the pandemic has inflicted on us is to make us worry endlessly. So we start loading ourselves with information about the virus, right? I'm guilty of that. Many of us are guilty of that, especially when the crisis first started. But don't get me wrong, it's good to stay informed, all right? But it can also turn out to be a case of too much information, especially if we're reading too many bad news. Binging on doom and gloom news is so common that the internet now calls it, you know what it calls it? Doom scrolling. Yeah, they have come up with a new word for it, doom scrolling. Doom scrolling can consume and overwhelm us to the point where it leads to more anxiety of things that are beyond our control. So limit your media intake on COVID-19 news, all right? A better approach would be to shift our mindset or attention to something positive in our life. Give our minds a break, in other words. Social media is a great place to follow news, but you can choose what you want to follow, read, like, or share. So how do you do that? Simple, just follow the positive accounts on social media. All right? Don't follow the people with the toxic news. Take a personal responsibility to speak, post, share positivity only. Always read and think about your posts. Also read and think about a post before you reshare. Consider the implications of what you are posting. Is it up to uplift someone or to make someone feel more anxious, right? So when you are feeling down a bit, and we are bound to have those days when you're feeling a bit down, well, list 2 or 3 things that you can be grateful for, right? Because we always have things that we can be grateful for, no matter how small it is, all right? Number 3, this I practice a lot, right? During these lockdown days, exercise, exercise, exercise. Studies have already shown that a good remedy for pandemic fatigue is exercise, right? When you get fatigued, you go and exercise. Research has also shown that people who stay physically active during a lockdown are less depressed and more mentally resilient than those who are very passive and very stationary. When we exercise, we all know that our body releases endorphins, chemicals which trigger a positive feeling. We call that the happy hormone, the endorphins, okay? So that's what we do. We exercise to release those happy hormones. People who exercise also tend to be happier and in turn spread that positive energy to everyone around them as well. So do group exercises with your kids or with your spouse, all right? Or get on Zoom and do it with your friends. I have always been a great believer of the healing qualities of exercise. And you know, during MCO round 1, I converted my extra bedroom to a yoga room. So I donated the bed, I donated the cupboards, and I cleared out the room. Leaving an empty room, I installed a full-length mirror from floor to ceiling. I started to get the yoga mats and the yoga bolsters and even those fit balls. And I use that room to practice my yoga. And my daughter uses that room to do her cardio and abs workout. So it's great. So of course, exercise is not going to fix everything, frightening and disorientating about the pandemic, but it is something that we have control over when we exercise. And when you start to look good, you will feel great, all right? So get up and move that butt a little bit now, or go for a walk or a jog if you don't have a room, all right? No problem with that. Follow some YouTube indoor exercises programs. There's so many of them and they're free. So just get moving, move it. The worst thing that can happen to us is to turn into couch potatoes, all right? You don't want to emerge from the pandemic like a couch potato. You want to emerge fit and nice. Number 4, set up a routine. In uncertain times like this, getting some semblance of regularity and structure is important. Days and hours can start to blur when one is holed up in the house all day. And what I do is I sort of establish a schedule. One thing that will help me guide me through the day and also help me to stay productive and provide me with a sense of control. Again, especially during such turbulent times. So what I do is, do I focus on my job? Do I focus on tidying up? Do I focus on other things that fuel or replenish me? Well, I need both. I need to focus on both my job and also on replenishing my own self, nurturing my own self, right? Mental and physically. So I started simple because I need both. I started simple. I start by half an hour exercise in the morning when I get up. Then I sort of like, play with my dogs, give them some treats, ask them to do some tricks for me. I play with them for a short while. Then I might do a bit of work, right? So I start really simple, or I might do my 2 or 3 minute read, depending on what day it is. So I sort of set a routine. On weekends, I set aside a couple of hours to declutter my house. I might watch TV, catch up a bit on Netflix and all that. So I have a schedule, and then maybe once a week I start to declutter, get rid of things that I always say I want to get rid on. Do a bit of Marie Kondo, as they say. On the days that I have inspiration, together with my helper, we might try a new recipe. I also try to put aside time to connect with my friends, my loved ones, and over sometimes over WhatsApp, sometimes over a video call. All right. For moms, perhaps you can set aside a few hours over the weekend to do something fun with the family, whether it's starting to have a vegetable patch in the garden or cleaning the house together, which, by the way, is a great way to exercise also. And with Chinese New Year just around the corner, for those of us who are celebrating, it's perfect time to start to spring clean. And it's perfectly all right to be flexible and not stress yourself out if some tasks are not carried out as planned. It's okay. Give yourself a break, all right? Routine doesn't mean that every hour of the day must be filled with activities. The trick is to focus on incremental, achievable goals. Then check in and reflect on the schedule that has been established. And if you haven't hit it your stride by then, make some adjustments. It's fine. Sometimes the change in routines are good, For instance, when I can't walk in the morning, I walk at night. And the bonus is I'm able to catch up with my neighbors, which I haven't seen in a while. And if you're the type who likes pen and paper, well, consider starting a journal. Okay? And hang on, I'm getting really warm. I need to switch on the fan. Now, let me have this. All right. Sorry guys, it's getting really warm. So you're going to hear the whirring of the aircon. All right. Now, number 5. We're all working from home. And I hear people saying that it's unproductive, or I'm spending too much time at work, I don't know how to cut off, or I can't concentrate. So how do we work from home successfully? It goes without saying that businesses around the world are going through one of the most radical changes in the history of work. And all of us are grappling with it, how to work in this new environment, such as how to work remotely, how to lead and manage our employees from a distance, all right? How to tell our boss certain things from a distance. Well, we need to. At Norwex, as you know, it's becoming more and more important that we contact as much people as possible to build our business virtually. And congrats, guys, you have done a great job doing this. In short, the coronavirus has forced many of us to be productive at home. All right? One of the big challenges I find when it comes to working remotely is keeping my work and home life separate. I'm sure many of you are feeling the same. If you're used to going to the office each day, you might want to try to recreate that as much as possible, such as having a designated workplace at home. It doesn't have to be its own room. It could be a corner of your house. Could be a corner of your dining table. It should just feel as separate from the rest of your home as possible. So you're just like, this is my workspace in my home. Each time as you enter your workspace in your home, then you will feel like I'm really getting ready to work, right? On the flip side, when you leave the workspace at home, it helps you to turn off and disengage for the day. So it's like I'm leaving my workspace. It's like I'm leaving my office to go home, right? That's why I think it's important that we do not spread ourselves across the home, because it makes it harder to keep separate home life and work life. Another thing that I do that is great is I dress up. Even though I'm not going into the office, I don't want to feel like I'm still in my pajamas, you know, or in my shorts and my hair is undone and all that. And sometimes I even put on a bit of makeup. For me, it's just that the ritual of preparing to go to work, all right? Again, it helps me draw a line between work and being at home. And because you're working from home, it doesn't mean that no one from work will see you. You could get on Zoom, right? We go into video meetings. And there will always be bumps on the road if we suddenly go fully remote. The key, of course, is steering through those bumps and what is best, that is communication. I tell my staff, do not hesitate to communicate with me if you have a problem, and do the same with anyone that you usually collaborate with throughout the day. Give them a call, send them a text, get onto a video. You know, sometimes when I have the staff meeting, I insist that all the staff switch on their video so that we can see each other. So that is great, all right? So don't feel that you can't switch on your video because you're not dressed up. It's fine also. You're not dressed up, switch on your video and give your colleagues a good laugh. Also, looking at each other visually will also cut down on miscommunication and break up some of the social isolation that we feel when we are working alone all the time. Another big challenge about working from home is distraction, especially from those around us, right? So it's okay. We probably need to take a few breaks like we do when we're at the office. We go to the pantry to make coffee. We sometimes go along the corridor to chit chat with someone. So it's okay to have those little distractions at home also. So using that time, if you have no distractions, using that time to decide to do your laundry, that's fine, right? Because experts say that time boxing, which essentially is setting a fixed amount of time in your calendar to work on a particular task, can lift up the quality of your output. And lastly, don't be afraid to keep experimenting and create new ways to get things done. And if you have any ideas to share about how best we can continue to move forward during these critical times, I would love to hear from you. So write in the comment section so that all of us from benefit from some of your good nuggets. Huh? So in summary, how I cope is manage my mood, my mindset shift. I exercise. I set up a routine, but I'm okay if I break my routine sometimes. And then I organize my work from home schedule. So on that note, I end my session today. Meanwhile, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.